Hello and welcome to the OutSystems YouTube channel. My name is Rodrigo and today I'm going to show you how you can use an AI custom model in an OutSystems application. Now, sometimes your app might benefit from AI, but you cannot connect to a public model because the data is private or because of compliance issues. Whatever the reason, one possible solution is for you to use a custom model. Now, I'm not going to explain how to put a custom AI model into production. That's a whole new video and a complex topic, but I will tell you how you can connect a custom model to an OutSystems app. To do that, we're going to split this project into several stages. We'll start by creating the custom model. We'll just use Ollama. Next, we are going to expose that model to the internet because you need it to be available there to access it from your app. We will then create a small proxy that will allow AI Agent Builder to talk with your custom model, and we will build an agent that will be able to summarize content. Finally, we will add that agent to an application that we are going to build with Mentor. Quite a long journey, so let's get started. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is install Ollama. For that, we are going to use brew on the Mac. So we'll just go brew install Ollama. And very quickly, we have the package. We can run the command line and see all the options that are available. Now, to get it serving, we just type Ollama serve, and we can now run our own models. But of course, first, we need to get those models. So I'm going to put a window on the side, and I'm going to ask Ollama to pull the Llama 3.2 model. This is a small model that we can use to do some simple testing. Now, the model is a bit big, so this is going to take a while. Let's just accelerate this part of the video. All right, success. In about 4 minutes, we have a model running on our computer that we can use. So now let's test it out, shall we? So if we type Ollama run, we'll pass it the name of the model that we want to run. And now we can ask any question. So something like in 2 sentences, why is the sky blue? Now, of course, one of the things you need to make sure is that you type properly the name of the model. And there you go. The model is answering, why is the sky blue? So what I've got now is a model running locally. And so if I launch a browser and I go to my local host, I can see that Ollama is running. What I want to do now is put this in the internet. So for that, I'm going to use Cloudflare. So again, very easy to install. I'm going to launch a new tab here, and I'll just brew install Cloudflared. And now, in order to make a tunnel between the internet and my machine, again, it's rather simple. You just go Cloudflared, you say you want a tunnel, and you specify the URL that you want to tunnel to. In this case, it's our, like we saw on the browser, it's the local host with the proper port. And there you have it. That's all you need to do to have Cloudflare working. So now we have a URL. I'm going to copy it. And I'm going to go here to my browser and I'm going to test it. And unfortunately, it doesn't work. So I have an error. If we go back here to Ollama, you can see that it's answering with the 403. So it's giving permission denied. Fortunately, that's very easy to fix. All you have to do is explain that you are not worried about the requests, the origin requests. You just say export Ollama host to 0000, and now if you run it again, it will be available and it will work. So we can go back to our browser and we can see that our model is now exposed to the internet. So the next thing we need to do is to create the connection between AI Agent Builder and Ollama. And if we look at the documentation of the APIs, they are a bit different. So this is the contract for OutSystems, this is the contract for Ollama. So we're going to build an application in the middle to translate between the two. We're going to use ODC Studio for that. And I'm going to create a new application. And I'm going to call the application AI Agent Builder to Ollama. And essentially what this application will do is it will expose a web service, a REST API, that then AI Agent Builder can use, and that will connect to the REST API from Ollama. Okay, let's start by defining the inputs and outputs of this REST API. So what we can do is use this capability from ODC Studio that allows me to take a JSON and create a data type. So all I have to do is copy paste this JSON that I have here, and I can create a type based on this. Now, I'm not going to do this directly because I don't need all of this. So there are a bunch of optional parameters that you have here, and I'm just going to delete them in order not to complicate the API that we already have. And now I'm going to call this AIAB input. All right. So we've added the input to the REST method we are going to expose. Now we're going to do the same with the output. So again, I'm going to use the add structure from JSON, and I'm going to go here to the documentation, scroll all the way back to the part where you have the definition of the output. And again, I'm not going to put all of this because some of this stuff is optional and we don't want to complicate our structure. So I'm interested in the content. I could leave the usage over here, but I won't. I'm just going to remove it. And of course, now I need to correct the things that I messed up, but this should be it. And this is the AIAB out. So now that we have the two structures defined, we can define the REST API. So we'll just go here and we'll expose a REST API. We'll call it AI Agent Builder to Ollama. And now we are going to add a method. And this method can have any name that you'd like. The only thing you need to be sure is that you, on the URL path, you put chat completions. This is necessary for AI Agent Builder to work. And now this is going to take an input parameter, and it's going to be of type AIAB input, and it will take an output parameter, and the type is going to be AIAB out. All right, so now we are ready to define the body of the method. But before we do the body of the function, we actually need the REST API that we'll be calling in order to use our custom model. And to do that, I'm just going to go here to the REST. I'm going to consume a REST API. It's a single method. That's all I need. And here, I need to put the URL that I defined earlier for Cloudflare, and then just follow it with API in chat. Now, this is going to be a post method, so that's what I'm going to use. And now I can go back to the documentation and just copy here the JSON that's necessary for the request and put it here. Now, it doesn't like the comments, so I'm going to remove them. And as always, because these models are so verbose, I'm going to ask it to just give a short answer. Okay, so let's go ahead. Let's test our model. And oops, there's a problem here. And the reason this gives you a 404 is that actually I forgot to set up here that it's the Llama 3.2 model, not the 3.1. So now when I click test, everything should be all right, and I should have an answer from the model. And you can see here I have it. I have here the answer, why is the sky blue? Now I can copy this to the response body, and it will generate all the structures that I need in order to invoke this method. So I'm just going to go click finish, and we have our method prepared. So now that we have our API method prepared, we can use it on our chat function. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit the chat function, and I'm going to create a local variable. I'm going to call it params. And this will allow me to prepare what I need to send to the method. So I'm going to set it as the same type as the things that I'm going to send to the API. And I'm going to put here an assign node so that I can start preparing the params. And I'll start by the model. And here what I need to tell it is that I'm going to use the Llama 3.2 model. Then I'm going to set the messages, and this is the same as the messages I put on the input, so that's easy. And finally, I'm going to set stream to false. And the reason why I'm going to do this is because I want the answer to come all at once. I don't want the answer to be streamed like ChatGPT does, where you have one word coming at a time. I want everything at once. Okay, so the parameters are prepared. I can now call post chat, and I'm just going to send it the things I just prepared. And once the result returns, I'm going to append it to my list of messages. So I have here my out choices, and I'm going to put here whatever comes back from the method. Okay, so I still have some problems to fix. So it's telling me that it cannot receive the input parameters in the URL, which makes sense, is a complex structure, so I need to send it in the body. And for that, I'm going to have to set the method as a post. So this is going to be a post request to the API. And this is it. So now I can just publish what I just did. Okay, so now my service is ready. I can go ahead and configure AI Agent Builder. Now, the way I find it easier to do this is first, I'm going to go here to the REST API that I expose, and I'm going to do an open documentation. This will give me all the information and the swagger for my service, but what I want to do is just copy this URL. Next, I need to go to AI Agent Builder, the place where I'm going to configure my agent. And I'm going to go to the configurations to add my AI model. This is a custom connection. This is something I did on my own. And now I just need to give it a name, and giving the name of the model seems like a good place to start. And I need to configure an endpoint. So on the endpoint, I'm just going to call this endpoint 1. You use the URL that was on the documentation, and you just click Add Endpoint. And now you can see that we have a problem. It's not possible to establish the connection. So let's just try and figure out what's going on here. So I'm going to go to ODC Portal. I'm going to go take a look at the logs. And what I'll do is, apparently this last log on AI Agent Builder had a problem. It had an internal server error. And I can just go to the trace and understand what's going on. So you can see there are a bunch of calls here. The problem seems to be on this post. We have here an issue on the middleware. I'm just going to go deep, deep, deep. And we can see we have this problem in the chat. So there is this error message when I do a post chat where something is going on. So I just going to click on that error to try to see if I can understand what's going on. And what it's telling me is that there is additional text after the JSON. Now, because my model is running locally, what I can do is I can actually use Wireshark and see exactly what's going on in the pipe and understand why this is happening. So let's do that. Okay, so I'm gonna get Wireshark running. Just put it here on this window. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to capture the loopback, because what we have here is a connection between Cloudflare and my server. So everything is local. I can just look at the local, or at the loopback. And now what I have to do is just, well, retry the connection and see what's going on. And we can see that we have an error. Let's go to Wireshark. We can see a lot of things happening. What I'm going to go and do is just filter this by HTTP. That's what matters. And then I'm going to look at the API chat. So combination of keys gives me all the requests and answers in HTTP. And I can see here that, in fact, you have this HTTP block, or sorry, this JSON block, but it's not the only one. It keeps going. And this is strange because I asked for streaming not to happen. But the fact of the matter is, if you look at the request, you don't have that information here. I should have a stream false here. And the reason why I don't is because by default, OutSystems, when the variable has, or the element has the default value, it will not be sent on the JSON. And there is an option. So if I go back to ODC Studio and I'll go here to my message input. So if I go here to the stream, I can see that send default value is set to no. What I have to do is put this to yes, and I'm going to publish again. Okay, so we've published. And now if we go back, we click add endpoint, and the endpoint was added. We have success. I can just click add AI model. Now my AI model is saved. And I can even go, if you're curious, I can go here to Wireshark, look again by HTTP, check my latest chat request, and you can see here, stream is sent to false, which means I only have one JSON package. Okay, so now we have a model configured. It's time to build an agent. So I'm going to go back here to AI Agent Builder. I'm going to go to My Agents, and I'm going to create a new one. I'm going to use the model I just created, so the Ollama 3.2 model. And now I can set up all of these parameters as I see fit. So as a rule, I'm going to ask it to act as an expert. And as a task, so what I want the model to do is to summarize a transcript that I'm going to send it. And I have here an example of a transcript that I found on the internet. And so I'm just going to copy paste it here and send the whole thing to my Ollama 3.2 model running in my machine. And it will take a little bit because I have a local model. So my machine is a simple laptop, but let's give it a moment. And now, as you can see, my model has returned not only the summary of the transcript, but also a list of action items as I had requested. So the next step is just to save the agent. Let's give it a name. It's going to be the summarizer. And then in the future, I'm going to use this ID here to call this agent. All right, agent saved. We are ready for the next step. So now that we have our agent working, we have our model running locally, everything seems to be fine. We need an application to use that model. And the best way to do that is actually to use Mentor to create the application for us. And so what I want is an application that will allow me to keep track of meetings. So that's exactly what I'll ask Mentor. It's always good to be polite with these models. They perform better when you say please and thanks. Okay, so Mentor, based on the prompt that I gave it, gives me this suggestion for a data model. We'll have meetings, participants, agenda, meeting notes, and so on. I think this is pretty good. It made the application green as I requested. I'm just going to go ahead and click Generate. Now, there's a lot of work going underneath the hood while this happens, so this is going to take a little bit. Let's just, again, accelerate this video so that you don't have to wait. Okay, great. So now Mentor has built the application for me. I have everything I need in terms of managing meetings and making sure that I have all the required information. Let's take here a peek at what we have in terms of the meeting in itself. And I want to add a couple of things. So I'm going to add a transcript. That's the first thing because that's the thing I want to store to later summarize. So let's just click here. And the other thing I want to do is to actually add the summary. And you can see that Mentor is doing a bunch of changes for me. It's adding all of this information for me. Now I'm going to add a summary. And I think the application is ready. Okay, I'm going to publish the application so that we can try it out and see it running. Let's preview the application. I'm going to click here. And the reason why it's giving me invalid permissions is because I'm logged in as my developer. And now what I could do is log out and log in as a new user, but I prefer to do this in another way so that I don't lose my permissions in the portal. I just gonna launch a guest profile and I will go from there. Now I'm gonna use one of the sample users from the meeting tracker. I'm gonna log in as admin because I want to do all the things that are possible. And we can see here that Mentor has done a great job with my application. I have all the information I need. And let's go into a quarterly review meeting and just look at it. And you can see that I have everything, including the transcript and the summary. So now I could go ahead, edit the details, and add here a transcript and a summary. Now, this is not exactly what I want. So I want the transcript to have more space for me to write on, and I want the summary to be done automatically with my AI agent. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to ODC Studio, and I'm going to edit this application, because one of the great things about Mentor is that it's two-way compatible with ODC Studio. Okay, so back in ODC Studio, I have here my meeting tracker. I'm going to open it. And now I can go to my meeting edit. And what I'll do is first, this is kind of small. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I have enough space to write everything that I need on the transcript. And you can see, yes, there is plenty of space. But now what I want to do is transform this into a text area just to make it easier for me to edit. So I just need, I'm just going to go and copy these values that I have here. This one is no longer needed. And now here I have to put here the same name that we have on this field. So I'll just put here text area 1. Okay, and that's done. And now I'll do the exact same thing for the summary. So I'm just going to replace this by a text area. Again, I'm just going to copy the variable that's being used. I'm going to make sure that I copy this to my label here. And then this is no longer needed. Okay, fantastic. The next thing I need is just a button to summarize the content. Now, of course, I could do this automatically and with workflows, so this could be much more elaborate, but I'm going to keep it simple just for us to see this working. So I'm going to add a button. I'm going to call it summarize. And now I'm just going to create an action on it that will summarize the text of the transcript. And for that, I'm going to need to call an AI agent, so it needs to be a server action. So I'm just going to go ahead and edit. I'm going to call it summarize because it's a simple, nice name. And this action will take as input parameter, it will take a transcript, and then it will spit out a summary. Fantastic. So now we need to call the agent, and to do that, we just add a reference to the call agent functionality from AI Agent Builder, and that's just a reference to an action. So I can use here call agent. I'm going to use version 2. And all I need to do is invoke this function. On the agent ID, what you need to send it is the name you gave to the agent. So we called it summarizer. And now on the chat message, I'm just going to send the transcript. So I'm going to say the sender is a user and that the content is going to be the transcript. And what it will happen is that it will spit out the summary. So I'm just going to put here an assign, and we'll assign to the summary whatever comes back from the agent. And that's it. This action is done. All right, let's go back to our client-side action. And so we are going to send it the transcript. And then once we are done, we are just going to assign the summary to whatever was returned from the summarize function. And that should be it. Yes, let's publish this. All right, the application is published. Let's see if it works. We'll just go and open it in a browser, and let's go to the meetings, and let's edit the details. And now I'm going to get back that early transcript that I had with all the information that I got from the internet. I'm going to add it here. And now I'm going to click the summarize button. And what's happening is that this is going to AI Agent Builder that in turn is making a request to my Llama 3.2 custom model. And now it's going to show up the result over here. Well, turns out this didn't work as expected, and we have here a problem. And the reason why this is happening becomes obvious when you go to the Cloudflare console. And so you can see here that you have an error where it says the income request ended abruptly. And what this means is that while doing the request to our custom model, ODC decided to close the connection. And the reason why it did this is because we are using a client-side action that then calls a server-side action. And by default, you have a 10-second timeout on the calls to these server actions. Now, that's a bit too little when you want to invoke custom AI models. So what we will do is we will increase this timeout to 30 seconds, and we'll publish the application again. All right, and now with the application published, we are going to reload the app. I didn't actually save the meeting, so the transcript went away. No problem. We'll add it here. We will click the summarize button. We will wait for a bit because, again, this is using my personal computer as a large language model, so it takes a little bit. But finally, we have the results that we want. And you can see here that now we were able to show the meeting summary together with all the action items, and we have the full-fledged application using an AI custom model running in my machine. All right, we're done. We finished our project. So just to summarize what we did, we began by running a custom model, Ollama 3.2, in our own machine. We used Cloudflared to expose that model to the internet. We did a small proxy that allowed AI Agent Builder from OutSystems to connect to our custom model running in our machine. And then we created an OutSystems AI agent that took benefit from that custom model to summarize meeting transcripts. Finally, using Mentor, in just a couple of minutes, we created an application that did meeting management, and we added the functionality that by clicking in a single button, summarized the entire transcript in just a few sentences plus a few action items. So all of this in just a few minutes. I had a lot of fun doing this project, and in the near future, we are going to release more videos showing other amazing things you can do with the OutSystems platform, so be sure to stay tuned. See you later.